Start us off, bro.
Hey,
Hey,
after a
start us
successful episode 1, I don't
Top
drink
bottles.
alcohol. I don't drink alcohol, so this one's a little tight, bro. All
Bro, come on, bro.
right, there you
You
go.
ruined the intro.
Hey, this one's for Pap.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, bro. Slow down. Slow down. We can't be doing that kind of. Welcome to the PaperTrail podcast, episode 2, where we talk about any and everything cyber.
Sir.
Just chill, have fun, give a little cyber spin-off perspective, things like that. Today we have a few topics to go into today. We're going to be talking about the Delta lawsuit on Crowdstrike. That was a big topic, but we're going to try to focus on the cyber aspect of that because there's a lot in there.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the Google antitrust stuff. And then we'll talk about some of the other things that, my boy Grant has to bring up. So it'll be fun. Nice conversation. Before we jump in, one thing I actually didn't tell you, Grant, is I'm setting up a stick server.
Uh-oh.
So independently from work, where I'm hoping to start receiving a lot of those threat intel reports. Unfortunately, I can't receive some of the reports that I receive at work. There are some reports I see about work before they reach the media. Fortunately, I don't think I'm going to be receiving that. But with a stick server, I should be able to receive some of the threat intel reports around the same time it hits the media. So I might know right before it hits the media. And that'll be good for this podcast.
Get the inside scoop
That's the paper trail.
before everyone else.
That's what we do.
Get the news early.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So what's in your ball court right now? What's at the forefront of your research, things that you found? By the way, Grant, he works in this stuff. He works in this threat intelligence stuff. This is what he does.
I love
so he's
threat
always
intel.
in there in this dark web based site. Is it .onion?
I just use Tor, yeah. Tor, can't go wrong with Tor. Can't go wrong with Tor.
.onion sites. He's in there.
Yeah,
And he's looking
every
at
day,
these
bro.
things. When you post a data leak, Grant's already saw it.
I saw it, bro.
Nothing new.
When the MGM stuff was popping off, I was like, this is like a week old, bro. What are you talking about?
Actually, tell them how it is. Can you? A lot of people hear things like dark web and they think, oh, this is some cool sci-fi stuff.
Bro, there's a lot of misconceptions about the dark web and Tor, bro. It's really the clear web is scarier, bro. Honestly, just going on Google.com and like finding some weird shit is pretty scary. But it's Tor, you on there, no one's gonna come track you down. Like that's the point of Tor. Like no one's gonna come and find you and kill you and hire a hitman. No. You could probably hire a hitman, but it's probably like the CIA. It's probably a honeypot, but.
So how do you find these dark web sites? You just type random characters .onion. What do you do?
I do a lot of open source. So I use Twitter. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not even gonna bullshit you guys. I use Twitter. I go on Twitter and I look up like this threat actor, and somebody on Twitter has found that Tor website, and you just follow it. And then from there, you can also use like the search engines, like the crazy search engines, but I find a lot of like people selling drugs on there, so I don't really mess with the.
Yeah. Let's hear it for those who don't know about the search engines. Can you tell us one? Bless us with this.
Bless you with the search engine.
This one.
There's like, if you just like look up top 10 Tor search engines, there's not a specific one that I use. What is one that I have used though? Dang, I have to look this up.
Sir, so let's see. There's
This is weird.
I'm seeing Haystack.
There's Torch, the one that looks like GTA. That one's pretty funny. I've used Mia. A lot of these, I don't really use the Tor search engines because, yeah, there's Haystack, but they're very. You're just gonna find a lot of like drugs and things like that. That's why
Silk Road stuff.
exactly, and I'm not into that. Like, give me the Tor. I just want to go look. Like threat actors, most of the time will tell you where to find their stuff. Like I think it was like Bloody Ransomware had a whole Twitter page just of their data leaks. Just on right there on the clear web. Radar has a clear web. A lot of threat actors have a clear web link now, so you don't even have to go on the Tor to find that stuff. But
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes I'm actually afraid to open these data link sites. It's like you
Dude.
get the leak and then you get malware. Boom.
Yep.
Double,
Boom.
double kill.
I want to go back and talk about episode 1, man. How do you feel after that one?
I felt good. Honestly, episode 1 was a blur.
It's a blur.
I had COVID,
Yeah, the
man.
COVID brain.
Everything was like, I don't know, man. It felt like a night out after drinking or something, man. Like you wake up the next day, you hear about the stories, and you have no idea what happened. So
I think it was pretty successful, though. What do you
I
think?
think it was nice. It was fun.
Fun.
I did go back and watch it. I cringe at my own voice.
Same.
But I mean, you sounded fine, Grant.
That's the hardest part of like editing it is listening to myself back. It's like, ugh. That's weird. Oh God, it's so cringy and awkward. Jesus Christ.
Hey, but we're back. No COVID.
No COVID this
Clear
time.
mind.
Pap's standing. He's standing for this
I
one.
I set up my standing desk because last time it was brutal.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to start doing that. We'll switch it up.
Oh yeah. And
Next week you'll sit and I'll stand. This tray.
Easy. I think the biggest thing is I want to show off my light there, but
Hey.
standing, I'm literally blocking it. So it doesn't really get to show off as much.
It looks cool. Like a lightsaber, like a lightsaber behind you, bro.
Yeah, I'm actually. Hey, I'm investing in a lightsaber soon.
Oh, a nice one, like an OG one.
Careful, OG. Careful, all you Jedi's out there. I'm coming for y'all.
Oh, are you dark side, bro?
I'm what's that? What's that in between? I'm like Yoda, bro.
Yoda.
Like green, like not really. You know what I mean? Like he's
Yeah.
not really. Yeah, he's good, but he's not really fighting for justice. He just shows up, does his
Yeah.
thing, and leaves.
Did you ever do those like Force Awakens games? I never
Yeah,
played those.
I think I only played Force Awakens. That's
Yeah.
about it. Other than that, it's like Lego Star Wars.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not gonna
yeah.
lie.
Lego Star Wars. You can't go wrong with that, bro.
Yeah, I'm not really a big Star Wars guy, but
Me
I
either.
do like playing the games.
Yeah, same. Jesus
Okay,
Christ.
so-
Well, get serious. Let's get serious.
Yeah,
What do people come
Crowdstrike.
for?
All right, so we all know what happened with CrowdStrike a few weeks ago. One of the biggest companies that were impacted happened to be Delta. Delta is sponsored by the Olympics, so that's a huge deal for them. Because of CrowdStrike, they were down for about 3 days, and they lost, according to the CEO, right? They lost about $500 million, so 500 million roughly, and that includes reputational harm, brand harm, physical damage. The CEO claims that Delta is a Windows shop, primarily Windows servers. About 40,000 Windows servers were affected. And then further claimed that the IT personnel had to physically go to these data centers and restart the servers by pushing a button.
Dang.
Which I don't know how true that is. If it is true, that's probably why it took them 3 days to
3 days.
recover. In that time, they had to cancel flights, refund people, put some people in hotels. So they're claiming that the total damages were around $500 million, which is wild to think about. And CrowdStrike, of course, having their stock drop. I don't know if that lawsuit's going to do anything else to their reputation, or if they can bounce back. Not financial advice in case you wanted to buy CrowdStrike shares there. Not financial advice.
Look into Sentinel-1. There's one.
Yeah,
up.
let's jump into that. What do you think about one company having 40,000 Windows servers? That means probably including backups, and having a third party like CrowdStrike, which is a competitor to Microsoft. They're not in cahoots. Have kernel level access to all 40,000 servers, which probably includes the backups. What do you think about that?
Well, they're not in cahoots. I did not know that they were not in cahoots. Maybe CrowdStrike did it on purpose.
Yeah. Well, when I say they're not in cahoots, I mean they're not buddy. CrowdStrike and Microsoft are technically competitors by a business definition. They're not like partnered or anything. Same way that and they still have kernel access. Same way some of these antiviruses have kernel access. Some of these cheat engines and things like that. Those other companies like Avast,
Is
you know, like Avast. I don't
Avast
think
still a
they're
thing?
I don't think they're a partner with Microsoft, but they were still able to do some damage. And we're seeing this again with CrowdStrike. So this is not the first time something like this has happened with a Microsoft system.
Yeah.
It's probably just the one that impacted the most businesses.
Did my
But yeah,
camera die again? I think my camera died. We're just gonna keep going. we're,
it's
just,
fine with me.
we're just gonna keep going.
But what do you think about that? One company having 40,000 Windows servers with a third party that has kernel level access to all servers, and now this company is suing because they're putting all the blame on this third party server. What do you think about that?
I think we've had a conversation like this previously where I told, old Pap here, old Papsec, Pappenheimer, that I'm done with Windows. Their monopoly hold is too great, and I'm about to switch to Linux full time. I still stand by that. They're a little
And
sus.
I'm like I'm a Windows junkie. It's
Windows
weird to say,
fanboy.
right? I'm a security guy, but give me all the bloat, bro. Give me
Yeah.
all the Windows bloat. Um,
You feel different, bro.
it's wild, right? I just if you look at if you just Google like Windows update URLs, for example, like Windows has like a list of like URLs that uses to update, and then you can just block those on your router. Like a lot of like I have a Netgear router and it has like a built-in firewall into it, so you can just block specific URLs and then just block updates. And then when I want to update it, I unblock it, and then I just push the updates to my computer. It's just accepting the bloat without having the analytics and things like that go out to Windows. You just go and individually add those IPs, or in this case, it will be URLs. Now the URLs will change, so you'll probably have to keep up with that, and I do not. So.
A random question though. What do you think of that Copilot stuff? What do you think of that AI integration in this whole like forcing it kind of down our throats?
Yeah. It's interesting because, well, one, do I have mine on?
Your Copilot, they're spying on you already, bro.
I'm pretty sure, yeah, I do have my Copilot on. It's interesting because actually now I want to test and see. I actually never looked into it yet, but I want to test and see if I disconnect my network, will I still have access to this
Copilot.
AI system? And if so, then I wonder how Copilot is working on a Windows computer. If I do not have access to it after disconnecting my internet, then I can kind of assume that there's some kind of network connection going out. Now, that said, I don't use Copilot, actually,
Yeah.
now that I think about it.
Now that I think about
It literally just sits on my computer. But then again, the other thing is the machine I have now, I don't do much things that I shouldn't be doing on here. So, I mean, I do schoolwork. That's public. Right?
that's public.
Someone can take that. I don't really care. I do research here, and I watch like videos on this computer. But yeah, I don't know. I think when it comes to like doing things like testing and stuff like that, I usually will use usually like a cloud-based server, like a VPS, an EC2 instance, or something like that. It's usually not directly on my Windows machine.
We need to have a whole episode of AI, I think. Have like an AI expert on.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Now, I do, I have some experience with like machine learning models and, just general LLMs, large language models, and things like that. But it'd be really cool to get an expert on here and pick their brain on some of these things.
So going back to CrowdStrike, and they're getting sued by Delta. So Microsoft's not getting sued, are they?
No. It's well, Microsoft has had lawsuits, but it's separate from this incident. Delta is blaming CrowdStrike for this 3-day down period where they had to cancel all flights and lose a lot of money.
I think the Olympics are cursed. Now that I think of like this. Maybe not all of them, but this Paris one is cursed, dog.
Bro, I'm not. Yeah,
This
yeah. There's a lot. There's a lot there. There's a lot of non-cyber stuff I could jump down there. I'm gonna bite my tongue.
Is this about to become a conspiracy theory podcast, bro?
No, actually,
No.
I'm actually very critical of conspiracy theories, so I'd rather not go down.
Let's
that
not
path.
go there.
Yeah, I'm serious. I like. I remember I once was talking to someone who tried to convince me of the flat Earth thing, and instead I decided to see if we can buy a private plane and just fly the Earth ourselves. Take a look. And when I got that far to even booking the tickets, it ended up, the person ended up backing out and saying it's not worth it and things like that. But
Wait.
I get that critical. I need, if there is a truth to be said, I'd rather see the truth with my own eyes, kind of thing.
Wait, so he turned down a private plane flight
Yep.
just to not be
So
proven wrong?
Yeah. What I wanted to do is I'd rather have not just argue back and forth on some of these things. So if it's something like proving whether the Earth is round, and the basis on that was like you can't go over the mountains in Antarctica. When it came to that, like that was the evidence provided. So I said, well, that's an interesting point. Let's just book a flight right now and let's just see if we can do it. And when it came to that, like actually booking a flight, they kind of just backed out. So need to say, I don't really like talking about conspiracies. I prefer to just go out and see whether it's true or not.
Yeah, I agree. That makes sense. I can get behind that.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to confirm for yourself than to jump down those. But with the 40,000 servers that Delta use, there were Windows machines, right? It brings a question up of were they just using redundancy, or did they include diversity?
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Well, I mean, listen.
Well, I think that
I think they should have included diversity.
I mean, I mean, is that normal to just have a bunch of Windows servers? Like, do they normally switch things up, or is that not the case?
That's a good point. I mean, every company I worked for were predominantly Linux, not Windows. I mean, we had Windows servers, but we weren't predominantly Windows shop.
Yeah.
And there was a sense of diversity. So, for example, we'd have like a Red Hat server running specific applications, and then there'd be like an Ubuntu server as part of one of the backups that would run the same applications. So it's completely different distribution, and that means that there are different attack vectors. There might be different pieces of malicious software or malicious code that affects both distributions. That provides diversity. You can't attack the same operating system the same way on the other operating system, theoretically. Sometimes you can, but the idea is that you shouldn't be able to.
Right.
You have Windows Shop, and all of your servers are Windows. The attack that affects one Windows will also affect your backups, even the backups to the backups, and it's a long-ending chain. And maybe this is a learning lesson for not only Delta but other companies to start including diversity, the idea of diversity instead of redundancy. Well, you need redundancy.
You need redundancy
with diversity.
With diversity. I mean,
it is.
This Fallout has definitely taught maybe the lesser known cyber people, maybe who don't really know too much about cyber, how reliant we really are on computers, and without them, a lot of our infrastructure is kind of doomed. What would we do without computers? Literally, we've entered that age.
Right. Yeah, there's systems have gotten to the point where you need computers.
Yeah.
If a pilot is flying in the air, especially commercial flights, they need to be able to communicate back with a C2 station.
Yeah.
So not C2 and malware, but operators who tell them, about the airspace and things like that, if it's safe to land and things like that. If they can't communicate with the C2 station, then how are they going to land? How are they going to navigate the flight? There are other controls. For example, if two planes are about to collide around the same altitude, the planes are smart enough to like kind of send like a signal and warn.
Sonar.
And so what happens is plane A gets a signal to go up, plane B gets a signal to go down. So they do get signals like that. But then you have the question of, well, are these signals faulty? And actually, there has been an accident. I can't remember the name of it, but there's been an accident where this was actually happening.
Oh dang!
The plane was signaled. The pilot was signaled to go like up, I think, on plane A. The other pilot was signaled to go down on plane B, and then the operator made a mistake and told the plane that was supposed to go up to go down. They both went down and collided.
Dang.
That was, I forget what the I'll need to look that up, but that was an issue. And so
Jeez.
the confusion was, we don't know if the computer was accurate or not. The computer could have been faulty, and if it was faulty, they would have collided.
Yeah.
In this case, the computer was accurate, and a human was faulty. So there's a we need computers, but at the same time, there's a sense of trust, right?
Yeah.
How well do we trust these computers that we need?
God, man, it kind of reminds me of what's going on with like Ukraine and Russia, how they're constantly just hacking each other. It's literally not just physical warfare. It's also like a crazy cyber warfare that's been going on before the physical warfare.
Yeah.
Shutting down their power grid, shutting down like, what is it? I think Ukraine just hacked like a Russian hospital. I can't remember the exact. I read it somewhere. Do you know what I'm talking about? Am I retarded?
I don't know what you're talking about, but go ahead and elaborate.
I briefly read that, like, I could pull it up, that Ukraine hacked a Russian, I want to say it was a hospital, but I could be totally wrong. Russian something. I can't even remember.
Russian hackers behind cyber attack on London hospitals. U.S. charges. Russian
Oh my
Ukraine hack.
Was it Russia against London?
Oof. Ukraine. 31 killed in children's hospital. Oh, that's an actual missile.
That was a missile. God dang.
Wow. Jeez.
Too much war. We talked too much about hospitals. Our whole first episode was about hospitals.
They're important.
They are important.
But what'd you hear about this? This hospital hack. I said hospital, but I could be totally wrong. But I just remember reading like Ukraine hacked Russian fill in the blank. I don't remember what it was, but I'm like, this is like, you always hear about Russia and Ukraine just like going at it with the hacking, and I thought that was like, that's kind of cool. But yeah, absolutely. Actually, this stuff happens more often than we think, which is interesting.
Yeah.
You have like, I don't want to start throwing names out there, but you have countries that are hacking other countries. You have things like that, and then you also have like these basic satellite spaces for one. Like, I don't know if you know, but in the U.S., commercial satellites are pretty much any man's game.
Dang.
So, for example, if let's say China, right? If China were to go and install a payload onto a satellite, so a payload could be anything, some janky Raspberry Pi, and just stick it onto a satellite, a commercial satellite. So let's say this is owned by, I don't know, SpaceX or something, and SpaceX has two kinds of satellites, right? They have like the commercial, then they have one that's specific to like the U.S. government. If it's on like the commercial one, and U.S. goes up and wants to install their own payload, and they see the Chinese payload, we're actually not allowed to touch that. So we can install our payload onto that satellite, but we have to just have our payload work alongside the Chinese payload. Now, then the question that comes up is, what if the Chinese payload is specifically designed to destroy communications to the U.S. payload, right? It's like at that point, you're just giving a cyber attack. That's all you're doing. And then we have to make a payload that interrupts the China payload. So it's like now we're just a payload war going on. And it sounds silly, but I mean that type of thing has happened.
It's happened.
Yeah. In fact, it probably still is happening. It's
as we speak.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's just different countries have different ways to attack different systems. And especially as technology is evolving, we're starting to go into this realm of like going back to the AI thing, right? With Copilot. Copilot is not just a Windows thing, but now we're starting to talk about AI in GitHub repositories, AI in missiles, right? We have AI drones now. We have AI, well, they're not really AI ships or anything, but like autonomy, which is like one step below AI. Autonomy is more of like a binary yes or no versus AI's ability to predict kind of thing. But they're stepping in that direction of AI. And then you start wondering, well, is this going to change the landscape of how things work? And will everything become like a cyber kind of war?
Is that the future? Is T2 our future? We'll save the AI argument for another day, but
yeah. Yeah, that's another episode. And I have we'll save that for episode 3.
Episode 3. Revenge of the Sith.
Attack of the AI system. Revenge of the AI.
So what else? What other fallout came from this CrowdStrike thing? Because everyone was talking about it as a hot commodity. Now no one's really talking about it. Everyone seems to kind of have forgotten about it. As
yeah, I think. Well, there were a few fallout. I think one of the big things is people were arguing over whether this CrowdStrike. So half the world, right? We'll say half the world because I don't know how many people. I'm just exaggerating at this point. Half the world says that the CrowdStrike incident was a cyber attack. Yeah. I'm sorry, not a cyber attack, a cyber incident.
Cyber incident.
The other half is saying, no, this was more of like an IT incident. Although there is overlap, I do agree that it is an IT. It's a bug, right? It was a bug, so that would be classified as an IT incident. I think the confusion there is that an IT incident does affect an aspect of cyber, and that effect would be the availability as part of the CIA triad. So people assume that because it affects availability, that must be a cyber event. But when we're talking about primary effect and secondary, so like dependencies, right? It's like if I this is a really bad example, but just bear with me here, right? Like if I'm driving my car and I hit a deer, the primary effect is that I killed that deer. The secondary effect is that the deer destroyed my car. I can say this is a effect on my car, or I can say this is an effect on the deer. The idea, I mean, you know what I mean? Like the reality is, no, I hit the deer. That was me killing, that was roadkill. My car was damaged as a result, totaled as a result. So in this case, terrible example, but the same thing kind of applies, right? So it's like, it was an IT incident, but it trickled over into the cyber effect. So that dependency there also trickles into that cyber. So a lot of words said, IT incident, not cyber incident. However, cyber can address this for the future, right? If I went to Delta before this CrowdStrike thing happened and said, hey, we should start thinking about diversity with our redundancy. Yeah. Well, now I just eliminated, well, I can't say eliminated, but I mitigated, right, the effects or the impact that this incident would have had on Delta, meaning they probably wouldn't have been down for 3 days if they had a Linux backup, for example, right? And they just switched over. Maybe a few hours, that's about it. That would have been a cyber suggestion to the issue, and that could have mitigated an IT incident. So there's overlap there. That was one thing that had came out of this. But I think one of the big things is making sure that when we see these incidents, that we also are thinking about in our own companies, or even if in our own personal like computer based lives, we're also thinking about what can we have learned from this, and how can we assure that something like this doesn't happen to us or our company. I think a lot of people kind of overlook that, and they forget, kind of forget the Crowdstrike thing happened and move on with their lives. But really, these things happen so that we can learn and grow from,
Right.
not just Delta, but all of us.
You think Delta has a case? Like, honestly,
You think so?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think they have a case. I don't
Do
know.
they?
I don't know, dude. There's a fine line of like, we want to protect our systems, and then there's a fine line of how much can we protect it without having something like this happen, where we protected it so much and relied so much on CrowdStrike to where it kind of shot ourselves in the foot. Where is that fine line balance? And it's kind of Delta's fault. I don't know. Not 100. You can't put it all on CrowdStrike. I mean, I guess you can,
Yeah,
but
I mean,
like you
if-
said,
if,
cause and effect. But
Yeah, if you sign up for a bank and then you go to the bank and the bank says, "Hey, I lost your money," whose fault is it? Your
Whose
fault for
fault is
trusting the bank, or is it the bank's fault for losing your money?
that actually brings up a good point, because I want to say Cash App is getting, they're getting sued too. There's a lawsuit going on for them because people's PII was taken.
Do you want to explain for the lesser
Oh yes,
informed?
Sorry. Cash
So what's
App.
going on with Cash App?
Cash App. Everyone knows what Cash App is. At least I think you do if you're in the younger generation. But they had a massive data breach, which I'll circle back to. But the data breach caused a lot of people's information to get leaked, banking information. People's money got stolen. People were part of because a lot of people link their banks to Cash App to pay or receive money. So a lot of they got breached, and people's stuff got stolen, and fraudulent charges were had along to customers, and they're getting sued. There's a huge lawsuit going on with them, and I think if you got fraudulent charges or somebody hacked your stuff, you get a settlement, like a couple thousand.
You do get a settlement. It's probably going to be distributed through so many people that we're probably going to get like $10 out of it. I'm not gonna lie, but you do get a settlement.
Yeah.
So do you know what happened? What happened with this? Like, how did they get breached?
Cash App breach. They have to award 15 million to users, so they can claim $2,500 each, depending. Like, I looked it up. It's like, what was that?
Was what?
Oh my god, that scared me. My computer like went dark for a second. That scared me. Let me look it up. Who hacked Cash App? Oops.
It was in April 2022, and the second one was October 2023. So this was a class action that
Jeez.
I don't know when this actually started, but Cash App's been hacked for 2 years, right?
Oh my.
It's a little wild.
So that brings me back to another point. Like, when should the law take, like, when should companies have to disclose that they have been hacked? It should not have been 2 years before they had to say something.
Yeah, really quickly, your camera is frozen, but
Again?
you look great. You look great.
Thank you.
Um,
You look great.
so so that's an interesting point, right? Because there are some people who would argue that you should disclose this instantly, so that people are aware. But then there are some who say you shouldn't disclose it at all. But then there's the middle, right? You should disclose it, but make sure that your your ducks are in a row, kind of things. I am more into that middle side, right? If I own a company and we have a data breach, and my first thing to do is run out and start telling everyone we got breached, we're almost shooting ourselves in the foot, right? Because we don't really have much information. We don't know what happened. We don't know how to stop it. We don't know if the attackers are still in our system. We don't know what's going on.
Right.
We don't even know what data are affected at the moment. There's a good chance that we don't know. So if we come back and say, oh, they only stole, first names, just ruined your reputation and probably, caused reputational harm that could be catastrophic, meaning you may not be able to recover from that.
Dang.
Because first names were given. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So I think you should do a thorough investigation, make sure you have everything that you need to have, send that to whatever team you need, the communications team, the legal team. Those are the guys who are going to be able to communicate things in a way that isn't detrimental to a company. And I think there should be that kind of process in place. I don't think you should run and just start alerting people, but then on the other hand, I don't think you should be quiet about it.
Yeah.
I think other companies in that threat intelligence space should be alerted before public media. So have you, really quickly, have you what do you call this? What is that called? It's like a threat intel requirement. You know what I'm talking about? Like a PIR.
Yes. There's like a
PIR.
time frame, or there's like it's a new legal, right? That you're talking about, the new legal thing where people have a certain amount of time before they have to disclose something.
No, but that is another good point. I mean, companies have I think it's called a PIR. What is it called? PIR, threat intelligence. It's actually priority intelligence requirements. And what a PIR is, so there's threat intel that comes from a wide range of things. A lot of it is these advanced persistent threats, but not all of it is relevant for a company. So, for example, a bank is probably not going to be worried about attacks on a power plant, for example. So we developed something called a PIR, priority intelligence requirement, to only have information that's relevant to us. So when we set up our threat intelligence kind of communication flow, we're only receiving things that are specific to us. So if we're let's say I work in the power industry and the company I work for gets breached, the idea is that when I do alert, I would first alert other related industries, so other power-based industries. Hey, we just got breached. Here's how it happened. Because you are in this industry and your PIR is similar to ours, you should be alert that we think this is relevant for you. So, here's this information that we have.
Right.
And then, of course, once media gets their hands on things, and things kind of blow out of proportion. But,
As they like
that's
to
why
do.
it's good to have your communications team communicate with media.
Jeez.
But what do you think? Do you think it's beneficial to report as soon as you get breached?
Well, if we're talking about ransomware, if your company is like, hey, we have all your data, we're going to leak it. I think if you figure out, determine whether or not they actually have your data or not, or if they're just BSing you. And once you determine they actually have your data, I think that's whenever you should disclose, because it should be a legal thing that they have to disclose. That will deter, I think personally, ransomware, because if you have to disclose it, there goes your reputation anyway, which is what most companies are trying to protect in the first place. And the hacker gets no money, so what's the point of even hacking them? That may be like a pipe dream. It may not be an actual thing. I don't think it's going to deter, but...
You're saying if it's disclosed, then the hacker gets no money?
Yeah, because most of the time it's, we won't tell anybody about your hack, and we won't disclose, and we won't sell your information or whatever on the dark web. But there goes your whole reputation side of trying to get money. So what's the point of even hacking them if you can't hold that over their head?
Gotcha. Okay, that's what you're saying. Yeah, usually ransomware is in conjunction with scareware tactics.
Right.
Where they aren't really interested in shutting the company down, but they're more so interested in scaring you into paying them. And
Paying them
so,
the money.
yeah, it's kind of like like Eminem kamikaze kind of thing, right?
Kamikaze.
Like 8 Mile. Like if you destroy yourself, then what's there to destroy?
Exactly. And you legally have to. It's like, oh, well, you hacked us, so now we legally have to abide by our country's laws of disclosure, and we can't pay you. So, GG's, bro.
Yeah.
Everybody's data's on the dark web anyway. Like, it really is. Like, I don't. I've seen so many social security numbers, so many passports, so many driver's license. It's ridiculous. Your data's on there. There's nothing you could do. Have I been pwned.com? It'll show you that you've been hacked.
So let's take this from I like to look at this at different perspectives as well. I do actually agree with this perspective as well, but I do like to look at it from another perspective, right? Put yourself in a mom and pop situation, right? You invested your entire life savings for a company, and your company's getting off the ground, you're making moves. Boom, you get hit with ransomware. The impact of this ransomware destroys everything. You lose all your money, your life savings, you go into millions of dollars in debt. If you destroy yourself, you have ransomware insurance because that's something that's been being shoved down companies' throats lately.
Yep.
And the ransomware insurance could pay the ransom, but if you wait to disclose it, you could save that reputation potentially.
Yeah.
There's a potential there. So what would you do?
Well, I mean, like I said earlier, it may just be a pipe dream of what I'm saying. That, oh, this will deter ransomware. Okay, yeah, it's probably not going to deter ransomware, but if that was me, and my reputation is on the line, and I know anything about cyber in this situation, or am I just I've spent my whole life in this pop shop? Let's get specific.
We'll say you're you now. So
Okay.
whatever you know now is what you'll know then.
Man, that's a hard question. Yeah, I don't know what I'd do if I'm in that situation. That's hard to think about, but I probably would just disclose it. Like, dude, we got hacked. I'm sorry. If you've ever shopped at our shop, they have your credit card information. Like, I'm sorry. You can sue me. I don't know what else to tell you.
It's an interesting it's an interesting exercise because when it comes to cyber attacks, it's easy to point fingers when you're not the one directly impacted from a business perspective.
Yeah.
But when the role is on the opposite end, if you're the one who is affected from a business perspective and others are pointing fingers at you, it's not easy to just go out and say, okay, you know what, let's destroy my business for the sake of this rent. The thing you have to ask yourself, right, when you're on the other side is, do I destroy myself in order to help other businesses not be affected by this ransomware? Or do I not care about these other businesses, save myself, disclose it when, at the right time to make sure my business survives, and pay this ransom with this insurance that I got?
Yeah.
Which usually happens, right? You use insurance to pay, ransomware comes back, use insurance to pay, then you're just you're in this battle. But you're only stuck in a cycle because these businesses are like, I care more about my reputation than I do about other businesses, which is the reality of things.
I guess I should have told you back in the beginning when you were asking me about it, but yeah, I was on a hacker's website, and they disclosed company information, and there was like this company's pen test report, like just. I told you about that earlier.
Yeah.
This company's pen test report, like, oh, they spent all this money to have these pen testers come and test their system, and they still got hacked. So where do you draw the line? I mean, that's why I just said, nah, we got hacked. Like, where do you draw the line?
So that's an interesting point. How do you think these guys even got this pen test report? Do you think this was an inside job? Do you think this was someone falling for a phishing attempt, or do you think they just had a weak security?
I think they probably legally required to have a pen test report because it showed the company that did the pen testing report. So they paid this company to pen test their company, and they just didn't do anything about it. Like, thanks for the information. We only did this for legal reasons. Now, can we get back to what we need to do? And didn't really care about upping their security. That's personally what I think happened, but I could be totally wrong. I'm just speculating.
Right. So that's an interesting point because that brings up the target data breach, right? So the reason why I say it brings up the target data breach is because there is this behavior where companies have this idea that they just need to meet requirements.
Yeah.
And by meeting these requirements, they're fine. They do not need to care about things. And the reason why this is related to the target data breaches because that whole thing could have been avoided had security been in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Target was instructed to comply with the PCI DSS regulation.
Yeah.
Right. So PCI DSS, at least back when the data breach happened, when was that? Like 2018 or something like that? Target data breach. That was 2013, 2018. 2013. In 2013, PCI DSS basically stated that credit card transactions needed to be encrypted.
Mm-hmm.
What PCI DSS did not state is that debit card transactions should be included in that encryption. So Target wanting to comply with regulations, right? They encrypted credit card transactions, but did not encrypt debit cards for those who typed in their PIN. So anyone who used their debit card at Target and typed in their PIN, that transaction was happening unencrypted in the point of sale system.
Yeah.
So when Target, announced this breach, and of course there was a lot of fines and lawsuits, their defense was, we followed regulations. We didn't do anything wrong. And it's true. They did follow PCI DSS because it said encrypt credit cards, not debit cards. And then, of course, that's been revised, and now debit cards are included. But it still goes back to this thing of, are companies just following compliance to say we checked off a box, which is how data breaches, sometimes tend to happen. Because they're just following this compliance thing. But how many companies are actually considering security outside of the compliance standards?
Who knows, Pep? I don't know. I wish I knew.
I wish we can just I don't know, take everyone's audit report.
Go through it all. But like I said earlier, your data's on there anyway. Your data's on the dark web. Probably even the clear web.
Absolutely. I mean, there's videos out there in the clear web. So.
I mean, dude, that's just at some point, is it even gonna matter anymore? If you hack me, dude, what are you gonna release? Data that's already released? I thought the CrowdStrike thing was getting to the conspiracy. I still think it was probably like a data breach. They tell us it was an update, but what if they just said that to avoid mass panic? Ooh. Now we're going off the trail.
What makes you think it's a data breach?
It kind of reminded me of the WannaCry, whenever they had that whole, and all those airports went down and hospitals went down, just a virus. I mean, that's what they had, a blue screen, right? And went back to pen and paper. So the CrowdStrike thing just was a big blue screen, and they're like, "Oh, it's not a data breach. I swear it was someone pushed an update." I mean, we can get into conspiracies, but I thought it was a data breach at first. That's before we had any information, but I thought it was oh, this is just here we go, another massive data breach, massive hack, massive.
Really? So it's interesting you say, because I would have thought when it first happened.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one, I banked with a bank that decides to use Windows servers predominantly, so I lost access to my debit cards. To two of my debit cards.
That's so crazy.
But my first thought was that this was a denial of service
Oh
instead
yeah.
of a data breach. So I'm curious, what makes you think this was a breach over a server or over a denial of service?
Um, for it to be so massive like that, like it was such a massive. It wasn't just like a DDoS was like what, like a single server, like a website, whereas a data breach could be more. I think would be more widespread. Like we've gotten to this server, when we got into this person's computer, we got into this back. Like we just been bouncing all over this person's information or this company's data, and just now we're just gonna wipe it. So that's why I thought, again, there was no information. So that's just the first thing that came to my mind. And now that you said that you can have access to your debit cards and credit cards and stuff, like it wasn't just Delta that. Why is it just Delta suing? Is any other
Because
company?
Delta was predominantly Windows Shop, so they had 40,000 servers that all blue screened, which means, and they couldn't get them back up, so they had to have people drive out to the data centers. So it took about 3 days to power on 40,000 servers. Whereas my bank, they, they use Windows servers, but it's I don't think it's to the extent that Delta uses. So they were able to just push some buttons and get things back up.
There was something else you wanted to talk about Microsoft having a monopoly.
Google
Having a monopoly. Yes, totally missed that one.
Google, yeah, and this actually shouldn't take that long. Google just lost an antitrust loss. Well, it was not really a loss. Well, I guess it was a lawsuit that basically claimed that they monopolize search preferences for mobile devices. So a lot of jargon there, but what that means is that Google currently, right, around, I would say it's about 99% of mobile smartphones, including iOS, right, and all types of Androids, the default search engine is Google for like 99% of these phones. They're saying the methods that Google has used in order to gain that monopoly or that monopolized foothold into the mobile market was illegal. And they're basically saying, Google, for one, they coerce these companies with like ad revenue, basically saying things like, we can get you more money on ads, you spend less, you make more, things like that. And then the other side is that they do things like paying Apple, right, like $18 million per year in order to be Apple, the default search engine in iOS. That leads an unfair advantage for other companies that are looking to, get into that space. So Google, that's the antitrust lawsuit there that Google just lost. I don't know if that's going to change. If anything's going to change, I think we're going to stay with Google. I think they just pay a fine off of this, unfortunately. I don't think there's any law to like change it. But it does like raise the issue of, well, there's a lot of issues there, right? One is, in addition to monopoly, right, there is and I forget the name, but there's an organization that basically controls online ads, right? So, and I wish I remember the name, but this organization is basically just like, if an ad company or if a company that's using ads is part of this organization, they pretty much save money on like, displaying their ads everywhere, and then they might be able to make more money back. So it's like there's like an incentive to like go through this kind of consortium. And Google having a foothold and such a big foothold, they're incentivized to collect our data. By data, I mean like search history, search preferences, browser history. If we use our, we log into a Google account while we're searching, they tie that with like our user, like our almost like a user ID, things like that. So if I were to start searching for Timberland boots, I don't know,
Yeah, bro.
on Google,
Bro, back in the
right?
New York days, bro.
Right? Yeah, you start searching for things like that. You start getting ads And like if I didn't look, log into like Facebook.com, you start seeing Timberland ads, and that's because Google has such a tight knit hold on this advertising market, so much so that it's being monopolized in that sense. So it kind of just raised the question of Google. Are we okay with Google taking that much data for their profit? One, and two, what is the dangers of that? Right? What if Google goes rogue? And by Google, I mean some employee that has so many permissions in one specific market.
Yeah.
On the Google side, they go rogue. They just take everyone's information that they could access, or maybe it's a team of employees, internal employees. They just go rogue and take all of our information. How much information will they have? One, and two, how detrimental to us as people will that be in an online space?
Well, I wanted to ask a question before I answer your question.
You could ask an answered question.
Okay. Yes. So I want to ask, you said Google is the default search engine on iOS?
Yes. Well, at least in Safari.
Safari. That's what I was going to ask. So Safari's default search engine is iOS. I mean, it's Google.
Yes.
Dang, I did not even know that.
I can confirm that.
Bruh.
I have an iPhone, right? So I have Safari open.
Mm-hmm.
Let me open a new tab. Because
Yeah, don't show that history, bro.
It's iPads. I was watching videos on how to sync your iPad with your computer. That's besides the fact. All right, so Safari. Boom. Let's just do, I don't know, Hello World. I don't know, just search Hello World, and let's see if I can focus the camera.
Bro. Okay, yeah. Oh, Google suggestions. Bruh.
That Google suggestion. That's the first thing that came up. I didn't even click go yet.
I didn't even click go.
And then when you do search, it's Google.
It's
so
that
it
goggle.
shows that it's Google is the default search engine for iOS.
Dang.
And then for Androids, of course, I have an Android, so I could show the same thing. But it's the same thing for Androids as well.
Oh my God, man! So Google and Microsoft are the. Surprised they're not in cohorts. Are they in cohorts? They're probably in cohorts.
I don't think they're in cohorts, but Google. So Microsoft has Bing, right? They're trying to push Bing out.
Yeah, good luck.
If you open Microsoft Edge, what is this, Chrome? What do they even call this? Microsoft Edge, yeah. So when you first download Windows, what do, right? You open Edge in order to install Chrome.
Yeah.
Or Firefox. Edge is literally just a browser installer. But they push their own Bing search engine. However, you can only Bing is defaulted on Microsoft Edge. If I buy an iPhone, if I buy any other operating system outside of Windows, and I use a web browser outside of Edge, how many of those browsers are gonna default me to Bing?
Yeah. Like
out
none.
of box.
Like none.
Yeah, and that's the issue, right? Because Google has monopolized this. You have to specifically go out of your way if you like Bing search, and I don't think I'd ever go out of my way to Bing search.
Yeah. So, is it just maybe Google's just the best? I mean, I can't even. I mean,
well, that would be their defense.
Yeah.
Like
I Google
we're
it.
just the best. We didn't monopolize it. We're just the best.
Yeah.
That could be, and that's a valid defense because think about it.
Google better hire me for their law team, dude. I mean, it's Google it, not Bing it. Hey, let's Bing it.
Bro, who says that?
Bro, let me Bing this real quick. I'm gonna start saying that, bro. I'm about to monopolize that.
Bing this.
Bro, Bing it for me, bro, please.
Can you Bing this? Can you DuckDuckGo this for me?
Can you Brave it for me, please? Oh, bro.
Yeah.
So if they get that, dude, if anybody gets their hands on Google's information, we're all kind of cooked. I mean, not just a rogue employee. I mean,
how do these advertisers get their hands on this information? Like Google either has already given it to them, sold it to them, or gotten breached. It's like one of the three.
Yeah. And they have that little thing in the Chrome browser that's like your data has been breached, kind of thing,
Yeah.
which everybody
Yeah, it's
has.
like we found your password in the dark web. Okay, well that means you've collected the hash of my password and you've compared it with hashes in the dark web. So you're just
Bro.
admitting to taking my data.
You just admitted to taking my data, bro. Google needs to hire us for the law team. You need to be more careful about what you disclose. And
I don't think I'd be a good lawyer.
same,
I'd be
bro.
terrible, bro. Every case.
But back to what you're saying, yeah, man. If it's a rogue employee or somebody else, like a threat actor, nation state actor, I'm sure they're constantly trying to be hacked. Google has to have been hacked. Come on.
Oh yeah, no, I mean they have been hacked. There's Google's had several security related issues over the past few years. In fact, they tried to strike a deal with Wiz. I don't know if you've heard of Wiz. It's like a security company. They have a suite of security tools.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like Wiz.io is the Wiz.io. They have a suite of like security tools, and right now they're a big foot in the market right now for some of their security tools. I personally have been able to use their CNAP tool, which is the cloud native, whatever, I don't know what the AAP stands for, but it's like a cloud auditing tool, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've had an opportunity to use that, and I like it a lot. I mean, they're really good when it comes to like security
Yeah.
and what they show. I mean, I won't go into too many details, but they will give you like a detailed graph, like a visualization on where your issue lies.
Oh,
So
dang.
there'll be like, this is the web server. Inside that web server, here's the API. That API connects to this database, and that database also has a connection out to this API, and your vulnerability is in this second API right here. It's
Jeez.
like that. That's how detailed they can get. Google tried to buy them a few weeks ago, actually, and Wiz ultimately said no because they wanted to go public.
Okay.
So Google's now, running back with their tail between their legs on that deal. But it just shows that Google themselves even know that they're not as secure as they need to be.
So what about Mandiant? Because Google owns Mandiant now, right?
Yeah,
So,
they do. But
the
Mandiant is
difference?
not right. Mandiant is not really a cloud compliance based company, right? So Mandiant focuses on more of that like threat aspect. So you have things like FireEye, which is like host based kind of
These names, bro.
yeah. It's like they have this. It's like a threat intelligence kind of like risk based approach to things, whereas Wiz is more of like cloud based compliance. So it extends beyond Mandiant, right? So Wiz will actually be able to go into your environment and point out things that like Mandiant wouldn't be able to do. For example, a good example is we had a. I won't even say we. I'm just gonna give you like I'm gonna give you an example that may or may not be true, but is definitely I've definitely made up and added some things to this example.
Okay.
Right. So let's say you're running a container, Docker, right, in the cloud. So Docker in, I don't know, we'll say AWS. And the way that Docker is working is you have like this workload kind of setup where Docker spins up a container and then it runs a workload and then the container gets destroyed. And then that's how things work. Spins these containers. Wiz is able to capture that and just say, hey, by the way, when this container got spun up, a suspicious application was installed. By the way, I did some research. Here's a link to that application. This application's related to some kind of C2 connection. And here are some sources that you can click on to read more about it. Mandiant's not doing that.
Dang.
So like it's not just Wiz. There are other cloud native companies out there that are getting this detailed around things to help companies, right? To help build company defenses. But Google is looking for that level of granularity when it comes to protecting their cloud presence. And they're looking at Wiz because it's easier to buy a company than it is to make your own. Wiz said no, so Wiz is now going to probably go public, and I have
Invested already. Yeah?
I'm not invested, but I do have an opinion, and I do think that they will be a good company.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Now, of course, there's the other side of things, right? Like if Wiz gets breached because of that level of granularity, let's say someone logs in, or let's say someone hacks Wiz and they're able to see the account of the company that I work for example.
Mm-hmm.
They now have all the vulnerabilities related to that company. So
yeah.
that's the downfall.
Oh God. We're right back to it. We're right back to the beginning. Jesus Christ.
Level of trust. That's all it is.
Dang. What a loop. What a loop and a roller coaster that this has been on. I'm going to drink to that. You can't see, but you know what? A little tink.
Yeah. Man, I wish your camera was on. You know what? That's part of the outro.
Yes, sir.
Cling to that. H2O.
All day.
In the raw.
No bubbly.
No bubbly. This is pure. You see that?
To the brain. Floridian water.
See that? Pure life. Hold on. Is it? Can I focus this?
There it is.
Pure life. They even have the family dancing.
Whew. That's Paps and his family right there.
There it is.
Back to full circle. What a journey it's been. Episode 2, episode 1 was a success. Camera problems in episode 1 and camera problems in episode 2. So camera problems in episode 3 guaranteed. So we'll see what happens then.
Oh yeah. Thanks for tuning in to another episode. Episode 2, PaperTrail podcast, where we talk about all things cyber. Stay tuned. Hope you enjoyed this episode.
It's a little all over the place, but it all looped, but it looped back. It was over the place, but looped back. It made sense.
And participate in the conversation. Right? If you heard anything that you wanted to add to, throw something down in the comments. That's what we like to see. This is what this community is about.
Community, absolutely.
Right.
Join the server. We're literally always in there.
Oh yeah, link that in the description.
The PAP server in the description. Come chat with us. Tell us what we should talk about next. What do you want to hear? What do we want to hear? Who do we have on next? That's a real question.
Yeah, we actually have the next episode. I think we have a guest speaker, so that'll be really cool. That'll be interesting. It'll be fun to chat about, and we'll try to add that. Right, we'll just throw in some guest speakers here and there. We'll just start firing off around cyber. Go from there.
Absolutely. Good podcast today. Crowdstrike as usual. Their fallout. The fallout of Crowdstrike, and where's the line between trust and not trust, and how much trust do you give before you give it all away? Damn.
We'll just stop right there.
Well, that's just what you did.
We'll stop on that question. Think about that. That's your homework for next time. All right. How much trust do you give? Think about that.
God. All right, GG's everybody.
Thanks for GG's. Thanks for another episode. We out.